Part 2 of A Tsunami Unfolds, pages 14 to 23. 3:10 p.m. Friday, 11th of March 2011, Tohoku, Japan. The tsunami hits. The first wave hit the coast about 15 to 30 minutes after the tsunami warnings came. From a distance, people could see a huge black shape rising into the air. At first, it looked like smoke or a cloud. Then people realised the black plume was actually the tsunami crashing into the shore. The enormous waves, 39 metres high in some areas, sailed right over the seawalls. Then the water smashed onto land, picking up everything in its path: cars, houses, boats, buildings, pets and people. It rolled through villages and streets, turning darker and darker as it swept up more debris. Real life, Yumi's experience. Only about 20 minutes passed before the water arrived from the east. It was carrying everything with it: homes, hundreds of cars and many, many people. Of course, people on land were trying to flee by car, but the water was much faster. It surrounded the airport in minutes. Did you know? Harbour wave. A tsunami is also called a tidal wave or a seismic wave. In Japanese, the word tsunami is represented by two characters: su, meaning harbour, and nami, meaning wave. (3:25 p.m. Friday, 11th of March 2011, Fukushima, Japan. A nuclear disaster. At the Daiichi power plant, located on Japan's northeast coast, another crisis was brewing. The plant's nuclear reactors had shut down automatically after the earthquake alert, and now backup generators were on. The generators were doing a critical job, keeping the reactor's cores cool to prevent a nuclear meltdown. Workers were busy monitoring damage from the earthquake when the giant tsunami surprised them, crashing right over the plant's sea wall. Water poured into the lower floors, flooding the plant's generators. Workers quickly became alarmed. If the generator stopped working, it would be a very dangerous situation. Did you know? Nuclear power in Japan. In 2011, Japan had 54 nuclear reactors that produced about 30% of the country's electricity. The Daiichi plant, known as Number 1, had 6 of these reactors. 3:25 p.m. 11th March 2011. #quake hit Daiichi plant hard. Checking damage now. Did you know? What is a nuclear meltdown? The core of a nuclear reactor gets very hot. In order to prevent overheating, a cooling system keeps the core cool. If this cooling system fails, the fuel rods inside the reactor can begin to melt and release dangerous levels of radiation into the air and water. 3:30 p.m. Friday, 11th March 2011, Tohoku, Japan. A wave of destruction. Many people took photos of the incredible tsunami as it swept across northeast Japan. People from all over the world watched too, as TV stations and the internet broadcast live images. The water swept across the land, and then it began rolling back towards the sea, carrying more debris with it. At Sendai Airport, it dumped hundreds of cars, trucks and even planes. Prime Minister Kaniato, the leader of Japan, had set up an emergency command centre in Tokyo earlier in the day. Officials began dispatching rescue workers, including 100,000 members of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, to areas hard hit by the earthquake and tsunami. Real life. Rikuzen Takakata, Japan. Setsuko, a cook at a nursery school, ignored the tsunami warning at first. Similar warnings came all the time, and the school was more than a kilometre from the sea. Tsunamis never travelled this far inland, but minutes after the earthquake, a mysterious dark shape in the distance caught her eye: the tsunami. It was rushing towards the school. The powerful water could destroy the wooden school building in minutes. Setsuko and the teachers quickly gathered all of the children and raced towards a nearby hill, getting them to safety. (7:30 p.m. Friday, 11th of March 2011, Honshu, Japan. Dealing with destruction. That night, temperatures dropped and it began to snow in some areas. People huddled together in dark evacuation centres, while strong aftershocks kept rumbling. Across the country, about 6 million homes were without electricity, and 1 million were without water. Many people had no food or heating. Worst of all, many people were separated from their families with no way to find out who had survived and who had died. Roads were blocked and the train service was shut down. Many people, especially in cities such as Tokyo and Sendai, started walking home. In some cases, the long trek would take days. Did you know? The wave that travelled around the world. The tsunami created waves in Hawaii that were more than 3 metres high. Waves over 2.5 metres high reached California and Oregon in the United States, sinking boats and destroying a harbour. About 18 hours after the quake, waves from the tsunami reached the coast of Antarctica, where they cracked the ice shelf. 7:30 p.m, 11th March 2011, #quake. High school flooded, but students are safe on 3rd floor. Did you know? Thucydides was a historian from ancient Greece. He was the first to record a connection between earthquakes and tsunamis. He wrote that the first sign of a tsunami is often the sudden draining of a harbour as the sea pulls away from the coast. (5 p.m. Saturday, 12th March 2011, Fukushima, Japan. Rise in radiation levels. At the Daiichi plant, workers struggled to manage the nuclear crisis. The floodwaters had damaged the generators, so crews were desperately pumping seawater into the reactors to keep them cool. By now, radiation levels near the plant measured 8 times higher than normal. Officials ordered thousands of people living near the plant to evacuate. Government declares state of emergency at number 1. Did you know? The world helps. Many countries prepared to send search and rescue teams to Japan. Other nations and relief organisations promised supplies of money. Individuals and community groups such as schools and churches helped by organising volunteers and donating supplies. Real life, Yumi's experience. Hundreds of people are still trapped inside the airport. Water surrounded buildings and cars, trucks and planes have been tossed everywhere. A fire had started in one section of the airport. Yumi recalls that the people at the airport tried to stay calm. Everyone kept helping one another, rationing food and drinks that came from shops and vending machines inside the airport. People controlled themselves, taking very little food or drink. They had no idea how long they would be stranded there, so were careful to make all their supplies last.